Okay, this is our last problem where we are going to do a last demo of a truth table argument problem for this module. So let's take a look at our argument. We have negation S as our conclusion, negation U is one of our premises, if S then not T is another premise, and if not U then S, then not T then U is our last premise. So our two simplest sentences are negation S, the conclusion, and negation U, the last premise. This is slightly more complex than those, and this is even more complex. So we're going to want to start with these two, go to here, and then if we have to, figure out this one. And this time, we could start with not U or not S. We've in the first demo, the conclusion was already done. In the second demo, we did the conclusion first because it was simplest. Let's do the third premise because it doesn't actually matter. There's nothing that's special about the conclusion, actually. It's just that in those cases, we happen to have them done or them be simplest. But here, not U is just as simple as not S. So we're going to start with the premise 3 column. Okay, so on our first row, T is true, so negation T is false. So what does that tell us about this row? It tells us that do we know whether or not the row is okay or bad, or do we not know? We know the row is okay because we have a false premise. Whenever we have a false premise, we have an okay row. So row 1 is okay. We're done with row 1, and we will not be looking at it again. Let's go to row 2. U is false, so not U is true. Do we know whether or not this row is okay or bad? We don't know. If the other premises are true and the conclusion is false, then all the premises will be true and the conclusion is false, and so the row will be bad. But if the conclusion comes out true or the other premises come out false, then the row will be okay. So we don't know. We're going to have to come back to this row. So when the premise comes out false, the row is okay. When the premise comes out true, we don't know, and we'll have to come back. Okay, T is true, so negation. U is true, so negation U is false. The row is okay. U is false, so negation U is true. The row is unknown. U is true, so negation U is false. We have a false premise. The row is okay. U is false, so negation U is true. We have a true premise. We don't know whether or not the row is okay or bad. U is true, so negation U is false. So the row is okay because it has a false premise. U is false, so negation U is true. So we don't know whether or not the row is true or false. The row is okay or bad. Okay, so now we need to go back and we're going to need to do another column, but we only want to do columns for the rows we don't know about yet, the rows that we don't know are okay. The rows we know are okay are the rows where premise 3 is false, so we need to just look at, so we only need to look at the rows where premise 3 is true, so the second row, the fourth row, the sixth row, and the eighth row. So we're going to do the conclusion's truth. The conclusion is also simple, so we're going to do that one next. And we're only going to do it on the second row, the fourth row, the sixth row, and the eighth row, because those are the rows those are the only rows we don't know about. The other rows we know are okay. So let's go to the second row. Okay, on the second row, S is true, so not S is false. So we have a true premise and a false conclusion. Do we know whether or not the row is okay or bad? We don't know. Depends upon what happens to the truth values of the other premises. If these come out true, then we'll have true, true, true for all the premises and false for the conclusion, and the row will be bad. But if either of those come out false, then we'll have a false premise and an okay row. So we don't yet know whether or not this row is okay, so we're going to keep going. We go to the fourth row. I guess, again, S comes out true, so negation S comes out false. This row, we don't know if it's okay or bad. We go to this row. S is false, so negation S is true. Aha, the row has a true conclusion, so it's an okay row. Finally, we go to the last row. The conclusion S is false, so not S is true. So again, the row is okay. These two rows are okay because they have a true conclusion. These four rows are okay because they have false premises. So the only rows we don't know about are the second row and the fourth row because they might still have all true premises and a false conclusion. So those are the only two rows we're still concerned about. Okay. Good. Let's do now, so we have to now calculate the value for one of the last two premises. We haven't done column 1, we haven't done column 2. We need to find about column 1 and 2 on the second row, and we need to find out about column 1 and 2 on the fourth row. Let's do column 1 first, the first premise, because this premise is simpler than this premise. So we're going to look at premise 1. Okay, so we have true. Let's see, it's a conditional, so we need to get we want to find out both these truth values. T is true, so not T is false. So we have if true then false, that is false. Okay, Well, now we know the row is okay because it has a false premise, and we don't care about the value of premise 2 on this row. We're not going to come back to this row. So now we know that all the rows but 1 are okay. We know the first row is okay because it has a false premise. This row is okay because it has a false premise. This row is okay because it has a false premise. This row we don't know about. False premise, okay. True conclusion, okay. False premise, okay. True conclusion, okay. So this is the only row we don't know about. Let's find out about premise 1. So the letter T is F. So negation T is true. So we have if true, then true. So the whole thing, conditional, comes out true. Do we know whether or not this row is okay or bad? We don't know yet because we have two true premises and a false conclusion and an unknown premise. So if premise 2 comes out true, then all the premises will be true and the conclusion will be false on this row. So this will be a bad row and the argument will be invalid. On the other hand, if premise 2 comes out true, then this row will be okay. And since all the other rows are okay, all the rows are okay, and so the argument is valid. So if this value is true, then the argument is invalid. If this value is false, then the argument is valid. So let's take a look. Okay, so if U is false, then not U is true. So if this is a conditional, so if true, then true, that's going to come out true. Okay, let's do the other side. If T is false, then not T is true. So we have if true, then false. If true, then false is false. Okay, so now we go up to the top, the conditional. So we have if true, then false. Well, if true, then false is false. The whole thing is false. Okay, so let's look at this row. Do we have a true premise? No. True conclusion? No, we have a false conclusion. Do we have any false premises? Yes, this premise is false, so this row is okay. So every row is okay. False premise, false premise, false premise, false premise, false premise, true conclusion, false premise, true conclusion. All the rows are okay. The argument is valid. Okay, so that's all you have to do. You just have to go through and calculate to discover, are there any bad rows or are all the rows okay? And you can do that by filling out all of these boxes, but you don't want to. There's no reason to. It just takes a lot of time. You want to be efficient about this. So the first thing about being efficient is knowing whether or not you've determined whether or not a row is okay or bad. So you need to know, okay, I do know about this row, it is okay because it has a true conclusion, or I do know about this row, it is okay, it has a false premise, and therefore I don't need to come back to it. Or, oh, this row is bad, I can stop. Or, no, I don't know about this row, it might be bad, so I'm either going to finish it or I'm going to come back to it. And then you pick the columns by picking which sentence is simplest. And that allows you to fill more truth values more quickly, more reliably, more easily. And so you only have to calculate truth values for big sentences like this on only one row. We only calculated the truth value for this sentence once on this row because that was the only place where we needed to find out whether or not it was true or false. And all the other rows we knew from from truth values from other premises or the conclusion that they were okay. So strategic point 1, be strategic about not filling out all the cells on each row. Once you know it's okay, don't fill out any more cells in the row. Strategic point 2, choose the premises or conclusion that are simplest and calculate their values first. So, you know how to do this. Good luck. If you have any questions, please let me know.